this manna might. I'm not sure what you own, but this here is on the mark. Like a spiral from a 5-star recruit, we throwing darts, really focused. WD-40 couldn't stop the way we grind it. In the trenches, putting that work in, I relate to all my linemen. This is for the men, the boys do not belong here. Tiptoeing to the top, we doing cone drills. The hottest show in the world, you don't even gotta search. Steady putting in work, you see the sweat up on my shirt. They wasn't aware of us at first, we wasn't on their radar. Now every play that we make, they gon' say, similar to a razor blade, we gon' stay sharp. The news ain't official if it's not on the mark.
What it do is Wednesday, we up right here on the On Your Marc Show. Powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. Every player can be live from the Fishbowl Radio Network, Bedford, Texas. Here to educate and elevate as we do every week. Got my guy Joe Aguilar in the building. Listen, I've known Joe for a few years, watched his kids elevate themselves to where they are. Now, we're going to talk about that and more. Joe's also in the high school media here in the DFW area, in the Metroplex, does camps, everything that you want to know. One of the best cameraman video guys that you'll see. But he also is a father of athletes, student athletes, and we want to talk about that as, you know, the recruiting aspect is started up. Spring ball is started. Yep. We're in the midst of 7-on-7 camps are about to start. So we want to kind of give you some game on that from a parent's perspective, for someone's in the media as well. How do you develop your social media exposure? And, of course, my guy, Coach Jay, on the road. Big tournament for him in Waxahachie, Texas with Prospect Sports 7-on-7 this weekend. We'll talk about that at the end. Coach, what it do?
Man, what's good? What's good? Blessed to be here, man. Blessed.
Absolutely. Joe, man, I appreciate you joining me,
Absolutely.
man. First of all, what I like to do with guests is to kind of get your background. I know you've coached a little bit as well. Talk about what you do on the media side as well. Then we're going to dive into Juan and Rico as well.
Okay, that's cool. Been coaching and teaching for 10 years now. I was in Irving for the last part of it at Crockett Middle School over there, right down the highway, in fact. Been a lot in training. I've been coaching with AAU summertime with Dallas Showtime. Been with them for 5 years. So kind of, like I said, been in the mix of it. Pee Wee football came all the way up through everything, through rec ball, through Texas sports, travel teams. I mean, like I said, I pretty much have started from the bottom and seen the system from the ground up. So I've loved the process of it. Great opportunity for a father to be able to share that moment with his sons. So that's kind of where it is. On the coaching side, on the media side, I kind of just hopped into that. Really been, I actually have a degree from Tarleton State in business marketing, so that's been a thing that kind of just pushed me to go that route. I love sports, so I kind of just mixed both of them together, and it's a way for me to kind of turn the hobby into a hustle. And I saw that there was a void, especially at the lower levels of youth sports, middle school and high school, in the DFW, to be able to push those kids and help them get that exposure and showcase their talent.
Absolutely, and that's kind of what we've been talking about since, you know, the end of state. Is how do you get these kids to get that exposure, to get the right exposure, to get in front of the right eyes? You've been doing it for a long time. Now, you got two kids that are in it, and the thing about that I love about you, it's not just about your kids. You help all kids. I've seen you do it, been on the field with you. You do it for more than just that. But we're going to talk about from a parent's perspective. We'll start with Juan first. Juan Aguilar is one of the top safeties in the state of Texas. Led the state of Texas interceptions as a junior, Dallas Kimball High School. But he's risen to where he is now through the grind and the hard work, and through you guys been just grinding. It's not uncommon to see you at any camp. We were at the Under Armour camp together. Juan was an attendee, but you were covering that as well. But go back to his process, you know, before then. Let's go back to let's start at middle school. I think that's a crucial time. You know, and he was on the come up then. Just talk about what you kind of went through to get him where he is now, starting with middle school.
Okay, and we can even go a little bit before that. Just
sure.
Really just setting the foundation with Pee Wee, and now. Is a time where a lot of kids, it's a microwave society, so people want things to happen fast, and it's a slow process, and you got to be patient and set that foundation. So for all of my boys, like I said, I got 3, the twins and then Ace. It was all setting the foundation athletically. So they started out playing soccer, they ran track, we did baseball, we did football, we did basketball. We let them dive into everything and really just develop skill. So my thing with all three of my sons is they're all very skillful, and they're they have a high IQs for the game, because eventually there's going to be a point where the physicality and the growth, puberty, all that stuff is going to happen, but that's something you can't really can control. But getting those reps is extremely important, and basically learning and building those skills. So really building a foundation of skill for him, and really allowing him to use his love for the game to be able to push himself to that point.
Absolutely. Coach Jay, that's something that we talk about all the time, building that foundation. Just speak on that just a little bit, because you've been doing this for a while, and you usually start with the youth, and then you progress into high school and then the next level.
Yeah, the earlier, I always tell parents, the earlier you can get a kid to just move, if a kid can learn to be athletic very early, then he has a really great chance on, success later on. If he understands how to use his body, understand how to work, and just the progression of learning, mobility early. Position specific, I feel like all that stuff can come later, but if you're athletic, you can really play a multitude of positions, learn the game from a lot of different perspectives and planes, and really leverage, that athleticism later on down the line when coaches say, hey, this is where I see you, and that learning curve becomes shorter when you're athletic.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned your son's playing multiple sports, and Coach, we talk about these things all the time, and I know that Joe knows this, but there are different muscles, different twitches, different things that you work on from each sport that make you well-rounded. Just speak on that and how that development, has played a key.
Yeah, like I said, they started out, I put them in I found a league when they were 3 years old that allowed them to play soccer. They got them going with that, just building coordination, working on their stamina, all that type of stuff. Eye-hand coordination really helped. And from that point, it also too, a lot of people miss is installing that love for competition. So that's what made them where they really wanted to compete in other sports. And that in itself, I say the foundation of any athlete starts with confidence. So you do that by getting reps, you know what I'm saying, and you got to build them up. You don't throw them into the deep end. And so doing that helped, and then they started to see like, oh wow, my son plays basketball, his twin Rico. Oh wow, me playing football all this time has made me tougher, so I'm not afraid of contact when it comes to basketball because I played football before.
Absolutely.
So it's a lot of those things go. Even right now with them both doing track, they said they're both in the regional 5A. Meet coming up, and Juan is saying, man, I can't wait until I put on pads because I feel myself getting faster. I can't wait till I hit somebody because
Right.
He knows, that power that he's generated just from tracking itself in these, last couple of months is going to help him on the football field.
Absolutely. I mean, we talk about track all the time, and I think that's a step builder to getting that confidence. And you speak of that confidence, you can feel it. Coach, and I know you're a big proponent, advocate for track, and listening to those type of things. This is what you try to tell your athletes and parents about running track when it translates to other sports. Let's speak on that just a little bit.
Track is the ultimate test when it comes to speed. Track is the ultimate way to see if you have that individual thing inside of you that says, it's me versus me. I'm running against the clock. Everybody around me is pushing me to better myself. And the one thing I see nowadays that I think hurts a lot of young football players is they don't want to lose. In that regard, they want to hide behind, the helmet, the team concept. But track is going to build something in you that is going to help you in the game of football because it's really teaching you how to conquer you. To get out there in that heat and run those hills and run those repeat hundreds and, all of that stuff, that grind gives you a real sense of, do you have that it factor? And when you look at people like Jelani Watkins, Caden Durham, guys that go out there and compete, on a major, major level and put up some major numbers and then do the same thing on the football field, you can easily see why they have that skill set because they're challenging themselves in two very difficult sports.
Well, shout out to both, Jelani and Caden Durham CD. That's the upper echelon of what you call competing. You're right about that. And, Joe, you've been privy to seeing those guys compete up close and personal because you've been in that stadium. You've been in that, realm with both of your all three of your boys, really. But, Juan and Rico are competing at a high level all the time. And I think that breeds competition, breeds you it breeds you being competitive. If you don't put them in that pressure cooker, then when they get to the high level or they get to the next level, they don't know how to function.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I was just in Waco last weekend and saw Caden. And it's amazing. Dalen Singleton in the 200. I mean, there's so many athletes that play multiple sports that you see out there competing, and you see like it's a mindset of wanting to win and compete, and that's why they're excellent at the things that they do, no matter what sport it is. So, and like I think of like Taz Williams. I mean, even though you don't think of him as a track guy, he's out there.
He's out there.
Yeah, he played basketball.
Hooped. For sure.
So it's like those guys want to compete. They want to be the best. But you see them do that, then you go to a Under Armour camp or All-American Combine, and you see them there doing the exact same thing, competing. So it doesn't. It's not an accident that the same kids that are up there at the top are there because they want to compete all the time.
Right. Well, and those guys compete at a high level because they've been in highly competitive environments for a long time. And that's the one thing, and being able to follow Juan from, his 9th grade, 8th grade on to now, I think that's the reason he's excelling now is because he was able to be challenged and compete at a high level early. Mm-hmm. And we talk about early identification when it comes to identifying talent, and I have a chance to do that on a regular basis. But talk about what you saw in your guys that you knew early on that they would be where they are at this particular point in their athletic career.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is a lot of times you don't you see the finished product or the product of what it is, the current product. But the thing is like I tell all the time, I had this conversation yesterday. I was like, Rico was better than Juan at football for the longest, and it took a light bulb for Juan. His first year at tackle, he played left tackle and blocked. And then he really found his groove. One practice, he found his groove with tackling and finding the ball. And then from then on, it's just been like, that's what he does. He goes to get the ball. But seeing each time he moved up in competition, he always elevated to that competition and matched it. And so for them is when I started moving them up. We played rec ball, then we'd go to play in the little all-star game, then we'd go to the all-star tournament, then we go out of town. And every single time that they went up, they always matched the competition. So that's when I knew I was like, okay, I got something on my hands with them. So and that was with multiple sports. They went in track, they went Junior Olympics. So it was the same thing no matter what sport I put them in. They always elevated to the competition.
Now that's one thing that sometimes strikes a nerve with parents is they have to make a decision on whether they want to play up. Sometimes being dominant at your age group is not key to development. And they always ask the question when it comes to coaches or organizations is why do they play up? So speak on that a little bit from the parents' perspective and why you thought that was great for your athletes.
So just in that instance with football, you might not know Matthew Ramirez. He went to he's at Incarnated World right now. Mm-hmm. He was at South Grand Prairie, great player. Mm-hmm. He was up in his up year when my boys were in their first year of tackle football, and being able to see somebody be able to do it and do it the right way with the right attitude helps you develop. And so now you know what to do. When you do pure age and you're always the best, you don't know if you're slacking off or not because you kind of are the standard if you're just bigger than everybody or you're faster than everybody. But when you play that down year each time, it kind of humbles you to be like, okay, so as they moved up, they knew like, okay, well, I'm playing traditional football and I'm in 10U and I'm a 9-year-old, I'm probably not going to be the fastest. So that's, again, where I have to play the game the right way. So I think that in itself helped is being able to see older kids that were good so they can use them as an example of like, oh, man, I want to be like him. And then also, too, it helps build confidence because then when, I can tackle a Matthew Ramirez who scores all the touchdowns, every Saturday, then I can do it with anybody. And I think that helps to build that confidence in practice for them to be able to set that foundation of the fundamentals and also, like I said, of that confidence.
Now, when you're as a parent and you're looking for extra work, extra help, you're being a coach yourself, how do you go about seeking out trainers. I know Juan and Rico both of getting that extra work, and they've been doing it for a long time. And usually the elite level athletes are getting some kind of training or expertise in their particular sport, or it could be a position specific thing. Speak on, as a parent, how you kind of go through that process and vent, people or trainers or coaches, anybody that's going to feed into your athletes from a parent's perspective.
Right. So for me, like I said, I've kind of been into it, so I'm not blind to what's going on. But what I always did was I would find I would seek out the best. So I seek out the best and find out what they were doing, or find somebody who had a son or daughter or whoever that was excelling, and reach out to them and use my network. And from there, you kind of get an idea of who's in it for the money and who's in it for the passion and really just the love of the game. And once I found somebody who I really knew was about, doing it the right way and doing it for the kids, is who I really sent my kids to. So absolutely, you have to get extra training on the side, whether it's weight training, speed training, stretching. In fact, I have a former gymnast that works with mobility for with my boys. So it's finding ways that you can get that competitive advantage for your kids, and it comes at a price, but there's also opportunities for you to be able to find events, camps that are free or low cost that you can get your kids into. And once I think you do that, and you see that they have developed that work ethic and their love for the game, that they'll want to do it themselves. So it's kind of also help building and grooming and developing their work ethic in itself, because it is a grind.
Absolutely, Coach Jay. We talk about investing now for later all of the time, and that's the big thing. Is everybody wants to go and play at the next level. We see the pomp and circumstances of the big time athletics from that's Power Four now, since we only got 4 conferences. But any ability or any attempt or any chance to play at the next level is a blessing in itself. Free education is what you want, Coach Jay. We talk about these things now. Talk about investing now for later.
You have to understand that the investment now, what you put in now, is leveraging what the potential of free looks like later. So if you're not willing to spend the money on the travel, spend the money on the camps, even if you think it's a money grab, everything has its purpose. So the investment now isn't saying I don't know if this is going to pan out, or it's too much, or is it going to work. It is putting your kid an opportunity to learn as much as they can, do as much as they can, and get as much exposure as possible, just so all of those things can be leveraged later. So the more you do that, the more opportunities. And you can look at, kids like Juan, who started out not being recruited, and within a matter of 8 months, just things changed, and the grind was still the same, the traveling was still the same, but it was consistently being done. And then you have certain maneuvers you do, and it takes off. So you got to look at it like anything else, right? If you're invested in the stock market, you playing the long game. You're not investing to get a return in 2 days or a month. You playing the long game. It's the same thing with your kids. You're investing so that they can win later. And if you do it right, there's a great chance that they will.
Absolutely, man. I think that's the big key in the process. The recruiting process is a marathon. It's not a sprint. You can't expect things to happen overnight. Yeah, now there are some guys that wake up and you 6'6", 300. You're gonna stand out. You know what I mean? Measurables count in every aspect, but they're measurables by position as well. But working, grinding, your work ethic, what you put into is what you're going to get out of it. And I think that's something that, the elite level guys show. And Juan, for instance, has put in the work over time. We've seen that from afar, and we've seen him blossom to where he is now. But there was a time, where he was wondering, and we've had these conversations when I bumped into you. You just kind of were like, hey, we're going to keep grinding. We're going to get that work in. And, you've even asked, and I know you've had these conversations with Coach Jay, hey, what do I need to do? What does this look like? And those things. But I think, and that's the reason I had you on the show today, because the progression from where he is now, from where he came, is tenfold. And now it's a case where now he's having these conversations and offers and phone calls and visits and things like that as one of the top safeties at his position in the class of 2025. But that was a time that you had to make a decision about school. And now, right now we're going into spring ball, and for all intents and purposes, it's a high transfer rate, for high school athletics in the state of Texas right now. Mm-hmm. But being in the right position, being in the right system, and the right coaching staff counts now when it comes to being recruited. So, speak on that. You guys were at a different school. You were at a private school before he got to where he was now, and the decision to make a move to get to where you are now.
Yeah. So that was a big, a life-changing move that we made. And it took a lot of thought that went into it. It took a lot of homework going into it as well. I didn't want to go into it blind. Like I said, Coach Jay, I reached out to him because I know he has a great source of knowledge when it came to stuff like that. And it absolutely matters because, like I said, you can be great, but if nobody knows or sees you, then you can go under the radar, and it takes a while for things to kind of get going. And with the transfer portal at the college level, everything is sped up. So in order to have an opportunity to basically, for a lot of people want is D1, Power 4, FBS, it is to get going early. And so my son, like I said, he's been a starter since his freshman year, all district, all 3 years that he's played so far. Like I said, the accolades, the list is forever. But the thing was, when he was at that school, there wasn't a lot of exposure. And then also too, it was a question of competition. So yeah, you're doing this, but you're not doing this against better kids that are more athletic. So that was some stuff that we kind of bumped into whenever we did kind of speak to coaches. They gave us like a little evaluation process, whether it was through camp, whether it was through somebody else. So that was something that we wanted to do, was bump up. So I knew the system set in place over there at Dallas Kimball, because it's right around the corner, so it wasn't any of an issue. Was just set up, and Coach Bam does a great job of getting his kids recruited. Coach Colton does a great job. Like I said, those guys are deep in it. They play, Red Oak, DeSoto, TCU, they NFL. Like, they both been in the NFL. They have it. 4 or 5 of their guys on the coaching staff have been in the NFL. There's a wide, vast net that they have, a network that they have, and they also can push and know what it takes to get to those levels. So absolutely, I think that's important that parents really look into that. And one thing is don't do it too late. That's where I see a lot of people, and they reach out to a lot of parents. Reach out to me, hey, you made this move. And I'm like, yeah, you need to make that move now. And Coach Jay was on the same, like, he had to tell me that, like, hey, this is the time to do it. If you want to do it, let's make things happen. And like I said, it worked out as soon as he got over there. His work had already shown. Like I said, he had varsity film, and boom, offer just like that at the gate. Just off of the strength of the network of people that they know, and then the type of player that he's shown that he can be. And things kind of picked up from there. But absolutely, make sure that you do your research. Don't get in the wrong program, because a lot of these coaches, they're there to try to win games, and you got to be able to use discernment to know who's in it for the long run and who's in it for their own run. And you got to find those coaches, and it doesn't have to be anything hostile or anything like that. Like I said, I appreciate those coaches that were over there that poured into my son. He's a better player because of it, but it just wasn't the right situation. And putting your kid in the right situation is the most important thing.
Well, it's never personal.
Right.
It's personal from the standpoint where you got it, like you said, right situation, right coaching staff, and the right system as well. Having watched Juan play Kimball last year, I was able to attend a couple of games. He fits what they do. He's able to roam, and the reason he was able to lead the state in interceptions is because he's playing that free safety and being free. But he also has a skill set to come down and play corner too. He could play in the box safety. Versatility is the thing, and they let him kind of roam and lead that back end. And those are the things, his strengths, and that's the reason that he's one of the most coveted guys in the state now. Mm-hmm. Just speak on his IQ. You mentioned that as well, and I think that's some things that coaches are picking up on now, and the reason he's starting to get these calls and looks is his IQ, his smarts, because you have to have all of those things wrapped up in that position, especially being a free safety.
Yeah. So the thing that and it really hit me that his IQ was so high when we started going to these college visits and going to these camps, and they get on the whiteboard with him, and he doesn't have an issue with saying, hey, they too high. Hey, this guy's in cover 2, we're in cover 6 on his backside. The boundary safety's doing this. I'm supposed to do this. And him hearing just the verbiage and seeing him interact with those coaches was a a good. I was very surprised, and I know those coaches were very impressed. But a lot of it has to do with just his love for the game, and me explaining to them the preparation that comes on the mental aspect, because you're not always going to be the biggest, you're not always going to be the fastest. So using that prep work and falling in love with the game in order to be able to do that. And I can remember, him drawing like plays up in his notebook, and even though Madden is Madden, like that stuff kind of translate for kids because that's their first time really getting to know what coverages are. If you're playing Madden at 7 years old, you're gonna know what cover 2 is because, hey, I need to use this, or whatever it is. So things of that nature, just really having a passion for the game. So I think because they fell in love with the game, they wanted to learn more about it. So for him, he really is like, he loves football. He loves football. And so once you see that your kid is passionate about something, if it's football, art, music, you really need to invest in them because, like I said, it's going to pay off for them in the long run.
Absolutely. Before I swing it back to you, Coach Jay, just want to take a second to thank some of the guys and the people that are listening today. Coach G, shout out to Coach G, J-Mac from the Dub as well. Also, Top Texas Prospect, shout out to my fam over there, Matt, LL, and Dan tapping in today. And we also want to thank our sponsor, Epic Sports Apparel, for always sponsoring the On Your Marc Show. Listen, this is one of the best shows definitely out there, man. Definitely invest in us. We're trying to help you educate and elevate as we have guests each week. Click the donation button in the middle of the chat just to keep us going, man. Help us keep this show going. Help us continue to educate and elevate you. But Coach Jay, you speak about IQ in any sport that you have, talking to your players, talking to guys that you're mentoring, parents and players alike. Speak on that, because that's a big thing. You have to know what you're doing. It's not just about reactions. It's not just about playing. You have to know where you're going to get the results that you want on the field.
You can hide early with athleticism, but every level, especially when you're playing with really good programs, if you don't have the IQ, it's going to be very tough to be consistent and make plays and give coaches what they want. So being a student of the game and having the love for the game that you're playing and truly understanding it. I always, kind of go back to the matrix, right? Telling the kid, the more you train your brain to understand the game at a very high level, the game becomes slow in your eyes while you're moving at light speed. So that's putting you in a matrix, but that only happens when you're consistently hungry for that information and wanting to process it. And that's something that you see, in a lot of kids, but then you don't see it because for whatever reason, some are just, stuck on, I'm really good at, athleticism, but it's only hiding certain things. And those things come out, especially when you get to the collegiate level where, you're not trusted if you can't remember and regurgitate that playbook and know where you're supposed to be on the field. So the IQ part is very, very important. And high school, collegiate, you got to have that AQ as well. Got to be able to handle adversity. And if not, you are prime suspect for the transfer portal. So those two things should go hand in hand. Make sure you have a high IQ and also a high AQ as well.
Well, I mean, the transfer portal just opened back up Monday at the college level. So, it's another time period where, kids at the next level are making moves, but they also have to know where they're going. I mean, there was the transfer portal before it opened back up was full of guys that had an opportunity but don't have an opportunity to leave the transfer portal just because it's so many people there. And coaches want players right now that are already have experience, which, like you said, Joe, is trickling down to the high school level, and they have to speed their process up. They have to speed their development up because right now coaches may not want to spend the time to develop in someone that might be a project, whereas they can go in a portal to fix that. And they're trying to win now. Everything's win now, and you have to know that. You have to be well versed and do your research on things like that when it comes to. But let's switch to Rico and basketball. That's a different element and a different recruiting game as well. Speak on that a little bit. And he's a point guard at Kimball, which has had a chance to go far in the playoffs. They won state was it the year before, last year before, and went on a run. And they're going to be one of the better teams when it comes back around the basketball season again. But speak on that a little bit, because that's a little bit different being a point guard.
Yeah. So basketball wise, it's a little bit later on. So most of the recruiting goes on their junior summer when live period enters. So AAU is vital. So that way you can get out in front of those coaches, because when you think about it, during the season they're coaching their team as well. So they don't have an opportunity to come watch you play. So during the live periods, during the summertime, those are extremely important. And another thing too is making sure that you get enough games in and playing, so that when you do go to your high school teams, that you're well versed in the IQ of the game, because a lot of, like say, the transfer portal still affects basketball, and they want ready-made players as well. So if you're going in and you can't cut it, you can't listen, you're not coachable, it's going to be a problem. So the basketball side is a little bit different, but at the same time, like I said, everybody's rushed into it, and it goes for the same way. You might have to work your way from the bottom, so you might have to go JUCO. A lot of kids do a prep year to get their bodies right and to be able to be ready mentally, to be able to handle what it takes to be a college athlete. So it's a good balance, but at the same time, the foundation is still the same. You got to grind it out. You got to be mentally tough, and you got to be really passionate about the game. The people who aren't passionate about the game, it usually always fizzles out, because there's going to be a point where it might not even be at practice or in the game, but just in life in general and at school, where you don't want to do it, whether it's going to class, whether it's being there and waking up and doing 5 a.m. workouts, watching film, and making sure that you diet the right way. It's a lifestyle, it's a job, and a lot of those kids don't understand that it's a job at the next level. And yes, it's fun, and yes, it's glamorous, but a lot of that comes with a lot of behind the scenes work, hard work, and sacrifices that are made by those kids, by those parents, by those coaches.
Absolutely. It's a grind. And what you don't see, the finished product you may see on national television, at the bigger schools. You may see that, when it comes down to state championship football in the state of Texas, playoff football, you may see the end product, but there's a lot of things that go behind the scenes, the extra work, the extra film, like you said, to finish as the right product when it comes to getting to the next level. Now let's switch gears a little bit. You're heavy in the game as far as the media things now, the social media aspect as far as exposure. Speak on that a little bit, from a parent's perspective and somebody that's in the high school realm here in the state of Texas, how you try to go about navigating that process and building, there's a certain way when we put these things out, you have to build your Twitter the right way. Recruiting is not so much on Instagram. These are the type of things that I talk about week to week out on the 707 and camp circuit. When I run into a kid that doesn't have that media presence, or they may have a Twitter and have 10 followers, but they want to be recruited. So these things kind of work hand in hand. It's like you wash your hand on this side and you wash your hand on this side, and you have to come clean. But speak on that a little bit, because I know that you're heavy on that as well.
Yeah, so that's a huge thing, is being able to get that exposure. And utilize the resource that you have that's free.
Right.
We pay for camps, we pay for travel. You do not have to pay for Twitter. You don't have to pay for Instagram. You have to pay for Facebook. Now you might have to invest in a media guy to help you get footage, or you can learn to do it yourself. But it's absolutely important to have that platform, because that's your show. And when they come and they click on your profile, they're logging in and wanting to see your show. So it's extremely important that you do it. You make sure you do it the right way. I tell my boys all the time, I say, kind of for the most part, like, hey, Instagram, have fun. You know what coach is looking for. Like I said, at all times, people got eyes on you. Kind of the same thing with TikTok, but with Twitter, it's business. And if you're in the basketball business, you be basketball. If you're in the track business, you be track. If you're an athlete, you be athletic stuff that you're talking about. And really just pushing that stuff and putting that stuff out there. And like I said, showing the grind, because a lot of times coaches don't see that. They don't have time. So, and kind of just in sense, is like this kind of how it works is that, like with Juan, they see, 8th grade stuff, Then they see ninth grade, seventh, they start seeing you develop, then they see you, working out, then they see you going to these camps, and then it's starting to get a little bigger and bigger and bigger. So then at some point you're like, you know what, man, that kid is like doing something. Let me kind of pay attention to him. Let me stamp him and check on him later on.
Yeah.
And then once it's your time, your junior year, and you do your thing, then all that stuff paid off because now you built up this network of coaches who've just been checking you out. And now it's like, oh, wow, yeah, he really is it. But a lot of times kids, parents say, oh, my kid's not getting recruited, he slept on. Well, no, he's not slept on. Nobody knows who he is. And these coaches, you can't count on these coaches because they have jobs, they have families as well. So you have to take it into your hands to guide your kid through the process. And there's, like I said, Coach J, y'all have set a platform. Yeah, y'all can literally break it down. Coach J has a template. There's a
Talk
template.
about it.
There's a template of what you need to put and what you should put, what you shouldn't put. And even Coach J, one time he reached out, I was like, man, hey, tell Juan take that down. Right? All right, cool. We're taking it down. Like there's things that you need to do that can help you, and there's things that can also hurt you. But the one thing that can hurt you the most is not having and using that platform. So Twitter is extremely important. I tell people all the time on Facebook, hey, y'all on here shooting the stuff and rah back and forth. Go get your kids set up on a Twitter. Show them how to do it. Let them, give them guidance. Still let them do it. But, just keep an eye on it. Just manage it, for the most part, and let them do their thing. And that will help them extremely. Like I said, with all three of my sons, they all have Twitter profiles. I make sure that they have content on there, I make sure that they interact with coaches, they interact with trainers, because that helps build that network up. And as crazy as it is, like in today's time, it's kind of is a popularity contest, right? But the only difference is if people are popular but you still are productive, then you're going to be able to have an opportunity to do something. So you have to let that be known, like, hey, I'm putting in the work. This is what I do on Friday nights. This is what I do on Tuesdays, or whatever it is. I'm grinding. I can't. Juan sends me screenshots of text messages all the time from coaches like, "Damn, boy, you ran that 100. Damn, you catching people." Like he not even a track kid, but he ran a track and he posting his stuff. And these coaches, college coaches, reaching out, being like, "Are you doing that?" They watching.
Yeah,
they're watching.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, the good thing about Juan is he's got a vast network, and we've known each other. I've known Juan for several years, and he's very active, and I think that's the reason that he's where he is now, is because he matched what's on the field. His social media presence has elated and elevated him to where he is now, and that's one reason I wanted you to come on and talk about that, because that's key. And sometimes parents are not as involved, but they need to be. And then sometimes the kids just have no earthly idea about this whole entire process. And they may have the measurables and stuff, but no, like you said, nobody knows who they are. I run into this every week on the 707 circle around the country, not just here in Texas, where they don't know about this. Coach Jay, and I know you're an advocate with this. We talk about this all the time. We've talked about this since the offseason has started. Your social media presence has to be up there a little bit, and Joe spoke on the template, and this is what the recruiting blueprint. If you hadn't got this yet, you need to get it. If you still have questions, but
Absolutely.
Coach, talk about that a little bit.
So the recruiting blueprint, guys, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, amazing resource for parents that really want to understand the ground floor of what recruiting looks like. Just like you said, we have these conversations and deep conversations on, what the future looks like, where you are right now, and, kind of being able to project. And it's just all about movement. It's all about being able to see things and not being afraid to make a change. You can, speak about loyalty or whatever all you want, but I challenge that part on kids being loyal to a system when coaches leave for loyalty to their families all the time. They leave for loyalty to their financial good all the time. So in the sense of, like you said, Juan being in a situation where he was at a school starting, no looks, no nothing, that's not him saying, hey, I want to be loyal and not leverage everything that I can for my future. One move strategically put him in a situation where he benefited immediately, to where now he can leverage his athleticism to get a zero balance. To me, that's a great move. And that's what coaches do. That's what we do as adults. We move to leverage so that we can make more, that we can earn more, we can do more for our families. This is no different, especially if you're giving everything that you have and you're not seeing the results. And you make a move based on, your potential. That's all it is leveraging. Now it's different in the sense of I'm not getting no playing time. The coach is treating me bad, or I'm not getting what I think I should get, and then I leave for that. Right. So every situation is different, but as a parent, you have to be able to look at your kid, look at the situation, and make a decision based on, again, projecting. And Juan did everything he was supposed to do, and Dad said, "Okay, I got to put you in a better situation that's going to help you," and that's what he did. So, kudos to that. Kudos to him for listening. But we break all those things down in the recruiting blueprint. So I challenge everybody to go out and get it. I promise you, it's worth it.
Absolutely, man. And tell everybody where they can find that again, Coach.
Absolutely. It's on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. You can buy the hard copy, or you can get the digital copy, or if you want a copy directly from me, you can reach out.
Absolutely, man. Well, we're getting close to wrapping up the show. We lost an athlete over the weekend from the Colony High School. Shout out to that family. Prayers to that family. Prayers to Keith Miller III's family. I had a chance to cover him when he was in high school, and some of the guys that I've worked with in the past, we kind of have been talking back and forth this week. But this is something that's close, and you, Coach Jay, and everybody, I would say in our circle, we kind of deal with these things, and we see these athletes in passing, and sometimes we just don't know, what's going on, and when I heard about it and saw about it, I was like, this was a guy that I happened to cover a lot when he was in high school, along with Miles Price and all those guys that were in his class at the Colony. For me, my show, from everything I do, I want to send my condolences to those guys. But this is also a thing where, hey, if you need help, reach out, man. We're a phone call, a text away, or a DM away. I got 6 or 7 Twitters that I interact with kids on a daily basis. It's not hard for you to, if you need some help, to reach out to us, man. We're here for the athletes and even for each other as we need that. But prayers to that community, prayers to his family go out, prayers to the Texas A&M Commerce family as well for losing that. But I just wanted to take a small portion of the show just to talk about that. And Coach Jay, I'll start with you before I get to Joe. You have had losses of kids here recently as well in the past, and that takes a little bit out of you. When we're doing these interviews with write-ups and 707 and things like that, we passing through, and sometimes we just don't realize, that someone else is hurting. But just speak about that just a little bit.
No, one of the hardest things ever is to realize, a young person, especially someone close to you, has lost their lives. It's never something you get over. You're constantly thinking about it. And as a parent, it's hard to deal with. Honestly, I don't know if there's such thing as, the mourning process ever stopping. So, heart always goes out to anybody having to deal with the loss of, their kid, loss of a teenage male, female. It's heartbreaking. It's hard to deal with, and it stays with you, forever. And you and I have talked about this many times. The kids that we've seen, gone but never forgotten, and it's just it's hard to deal with.
Absolutely, Joe. I know that you've touched a lot of kids in your coaching life. Not just your kids. I've seen you help other kids. When you've been out and about. Just speak on that a little bit.
Yeah. You never know the impact that you have, especially on the young adults, and just them seeing you and understanding that you're trying to help them means so much. And like I said, there's no strings attached. You know, it's for the passion of the game. It is to grow them as individuals. So when you see somebody that loses their life, or gets in a tough situation, it's real hard, because you do from a distance, you know, build an attachment to that kid, you know, and you're proud of that kid, and you're a fan. And I tell kids all the time, man, I have no problem telling them, like, hey, man, I'm a fan. You know, I love watching you play. I can't wait to see you at the next level. Keep doing what you're supposed to do so that can happen. So whether it's, you know, obviously, you know, the loss of life is terrible, but we lose a lot of kids to these streets.
Right.
Through, you know, not taking care of business at school, through drugs, through gangs. So just being that foundation for somebody, a steady person that they see, and just giving them a word of encouragement, like, hey, keep doing what you're doing. It's not going unnoticed. Reach out to me if you need anything, you know. And I say that all the time. I have a kid, in fact, that just hit me up. I was like, hey, coach, can you check me out for this spring? I need some stuff for this spring. I was like, yeah, send me your schedule. He's like, all right, cool. So right. I mean, just little stuff like that goes a long ways. And you never know how it can impact the kid, but you definitely, like I said, we gotta use the love of sports and to build that community and to make that community strong, especially, like I said, up here in the DFW area and in Texas as a whole. Because, like I said, man, this is the glory land of sports. Whether no matter what sport it is, football, basketball, track. I mean, this is it. This is the hotbed. And so a lot of these kids might feel like they're being underlooked, and we want to make sure that those kids know that they're important as well.
Absolutely, man, and that's something that we try to do here every week. You know, we're here to educate and elevate, but we're also here to show you love as well. So don't hesitate, man, to reach out to us. We're always a phone call, a text, or a DM, or you know, a message away. And that goes twofold. You know, sometimes you never know when someone's struggling. You know what I mean? And you have to, you know, in our line of work, you know, we're brushing elbows with all lines or people from all aspects of life, especially kids. We're in the kid business. This is our ministry. This is what we do. I tell people all the time that, you know, this is what I was built for. This is what I was called to do. And football is my passion. That's anybody that knows me. You know, I came out with a ball. That's the first thing I ever loved was football. You know, it was the only time I could stay up and watch TV was on Monday nights after bedtime because I wanted to watch Monday Night Football. You know what I'm saying? So we do this. You know, it's just not uncommon for us to talk about these things. And, you know, kids, parents, if you need something, don't hesitate to reach out. It doesn't matter. If we can do something to help or put you in the right direction or point you in the right direction, we're going to do it. And that's from everybody associated with the On Your Marc Show, Top Texas Prospect Show, Coast to Coast Athletics, every play I compete, Flex Zone, all of those type of things. We're here for you guys. You know what I mean? And, Coach, before we get out of here real quick, talk about the Prospect Sports 707 in Waxahachie this weekend.
Hey, May 4th, May 5th, the Way We Ball tournament is pulling up to Waxahachie, Texas. I need all teams in the DFW area surrounded. We are the only circuit in the area that is still certified by the list going on this weekend. So if you want to continue to get your points for the list, come on out, register on Zorts, and we look forward to seeing all teams from the DFW Fort Worth area this weekend. Register on Zorts. Registration will close tonight at 12, so hurry up.
Listen, man, you still got time to get some work. Waxahachie High School, On Your Marc Show, Top Texas Prospects, Prep Red Zone Texas, the platform. We'll be in the building this weekend looking at prospects. So if ball get the call, hey, you're looking for exposure, we're going to be there this weekend.
My fault, Mark. I gave the wrong date. May 4th, May 5th is Nationals in Arizona. This weekend, the 20th, 21st, Waxahachie, Texas.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking ahead.
No doubt. Hey, you got to think forward to get there. There's nothing wrong with that, baby.
No, absolutely.
Well, listen, man, Joe, I appreciate you coming through. Where people can follow you on social media, because I know you do some camera work, some video work. Go ahead and put that out there as well.
Bang Media TX. It's all platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. Follow me, tag me. Like I said, reach out to me. You need some media work. You know, you wanted some exposure, whatever it is. Like I said, it's spring ball right now, so we in full swing. We got 7-on-7. We got AAU, so it's a fun time right now. Like I said, I'm a teacher, so in the summertime, this is all that I do. So reach out to me. I'm all around traveling. So just get with me, hit me up, follow me. I follow you back, and let's make something happen.
Listen, man, you heard it. right here on the On Your Marc Show. Next week, tap in. We'll be back 11 o'clock right here from the Fishbowl Radio Network. Everybody that tapped in today, we appreciate you. And listen, this episode will be up on the On Your Marc Show YouTube channel later on today. Tap in, like, and subscribe. We'll holler at you next week, man. Shout out to my guy, Maynard Mike, and Scott Rapp on the visuals. They're going to take us out. We out.
Hey, this Manna Mike. I'm not sure what you own, but this here is on the mark. Like a spiral from a 5-star recruit, we throwing darts, really focused. WD-40 couldn't stop the way we grinded. In the trenches, putting that work in, I relate to all my linemen. This is for the men, the boys do not belong here. Tiptoeing to the top, we doing cone drills. The hottest show in the world, you don't even gotta search. Steady putting in work, you see the sweat up on my shirt. They wasn't aware of us at first, we wasn't on their radar. Now every play that we make, they gon' say similar to a razor blade, we gon' stay sharp. The news ain't official if it's not on the mark.